My life was a monotonous routine, a never-ending cycle of work, solitude, and visits to my mother in the village. As a nurse, I dedicated myself to caring for the sick and the needy, finding solace in the fact that I was making a difference in people's lives. My days blending together in a haze of long hours, exhaustion, and quiet moments of introspection. I had given up on the idea of romance, convinced that it wasn't meant for someone like me, an ordinary woman with no striking features, no fancy clothes, and no long beautiful hair. That was until the day Michael arrived at our hospital. He was a new doctor, 2 years younger than me, with chiseled features, brown hair, and piercing blue eyes that sparkled with kindness. His smile could light up a room, and his friendly demeanor put everyone at ease. As a colleague, he was approachable, considerate, and genuinely interested in getting to know his co-workers. I, however, was skeptical about his interest in me. Why would someone like Michael, a man who seems to have it all together, notice someone like me? But Michael did notice me. He would often initiate conversations, asking about my day, my interests, and my family. His kindness was genuine, and his words were laced with a warmth that made me feel seen and heard. I found myself looking forward to our interactions, and before I knew it, we were chatting like old friends. He offered me rides home, and I accepted, enjoying the conversations we had in his car. We talked about everything and nothing, our discussions flowing effortlessly like a gentle stream. As the days turned into weeks, I started to develop feelings for Michael. I couldn't deny the flutter in my chest whenever he smiled at me, or the way my heart skipped a beat when he touched my arm while talking. I tried to brush off these feelings, telling myself that I was just being silly, that someone like Michael would never be interested in someone like me. But the way he looked at me, the way he listened to me, it all seemed so genuine. Then one fateful day, Michael asked me to join him for a movie. I was hesitant at first, unsure if this was a date or just a friendly outing. But the prospect of spending time with him was too enticing to resist. We watched a romantic comedy, laughing and crying together, and afterward we took a leisurely walk, discussing the movie and life in general. The evening was magical, and I couldn't help but wonder if Michael felt the same way about me. But the bubble burst when Michael dropped a bombshell. He was married. I felt like I had been punched in the gut, my mind reeling with questions and emotions. Why hadn't he told me? Why was he spending time with me if he was already committed to someone else? Michael's explanation only added to the confusion. He told me that his marriage was loveless, that he and his wife Laura had grown apart, and that he felt suffocated in the relationship. He confessed that being around me made him feel alive, that I brought out a side of him that he thought was long dead. I was torn. Part of me wanted to believe him, to believe that I was the breath of fresh air he needed in his life. But another part of me was screaming to get out, to run away from this complicated situation. I didn't want to be the other women the mistress who broke up a marriage. I didn't want to be responsible for someone else's pain and heartache. The encounter with Laura at the supermarket only added to my turmoil. She was stunningly beautiful, elegant, and poised with an effortless smile that could light up a room. Seeing them together, laughing and happy, made me realize that Michael's words might not be entirely true. Maybe he was just telling me what I wanted to hear. Maybe he wasn't as unhappy in his marriage as he claimed. I knew I had to talk to him, to confront him about my doubts and fears. When I saw him at work, I approached him with a mix of trepidation and determination. "Michael, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm but shaking slightly. He looked at me with concern, sensing that something was wrong. "What's wrong, Anna?" he asked, his voice soft and gentle. I took a deep breath and told him about the supermarket encounter. "I saw you with your wife, Laura. You looked happy, like you were meant to be together. I don't understand why you're spending time with me if you're happy with her." Michael's expressions changed, his eyes clouding over with sadness. "Anna, I'm not happy with Laura," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We don't have the same connection that you and I have. With you, I feel like I can be myself, like I can breathe." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to believe him, to believe that our connection was real. But another part of me knew that I deserved better, that I deserved someone who could love me fully, without the baggage of another relationship. I told him that I needed space, time to think about everything, to figure out what I wanted. Over the next few days, I thought about nothing else. I talked to my best friend Sarah, who told me what I already knew, that I deserved someone who could be with me fully, without conditions or complications. "Don't settle for less, Anna," she said, her voice firm and resolute. "You deserve better." When Michael called me a week later, asking to meet and talk, I knew what I had to do. We met at a park, the sun shining down on us as we walked and talked. I told him how I felt, that I cared about him but couldn't be in this situation. "You need to decide what you really want, Michael," I said, my voice firm but gentle. "If you're not happy with Laura, you need to talk to her, to figure out what's next. But I can't be the other woman." Michael looked sad, but he understood. "I care about you, Anna," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I just want you to be happy." We said our goodbyes and I walked away, feeling both sad and strong. I knew I had made the right decision, but it wasn't easy. Life is full of difficult choices, and sometimes we have to choose what is best for ourselves. As I walked home, I couldn't help but think about what the future held. Would I find someone who loved me for who I was, flaws and all? Would I find someone who could make me feel alive, like Michael had? I didn't know, but I was ready to take a chance, to see what life had in store for me.